Hey, what's up everyone, back with another Bitcoin update. I know you guys are loving these Bitcoin updates, so I would really appreciate it if you can hit the thumbs up button and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you haven't noticed, your interest is the reason why I am on a Bitcoin streak these past few updates. So with that being said, in this video, we're going to be narrowing down everything from our last analysis as best as we can. Well, there's really nothing to narrow down since everything is still working quite nicely in our favor. So we're going to be focusing on more of the continued narrative, but we're pretty much resorted down to two ideas for the time being, with the rest being alternative ideas. So we've been talking about this leading diagonal idea for quite a while now, before it even started to gain traction. I'm confident that this pattern will start showing up a lot on people's radar as it continues to unfold in a corrective manner. So if we take a quick recap of where we stand and what we have been discussing for those that are new, we talked about this leading diagonal for quite some time for a few reasons. The first one, the move off of the lows, was corrective. If we found this wave forward to be the bottom or assumed bottom for the macro, and the move off the lows, which was a 30% move, that's something that shouldn't be brushed off. It looked corrective, and in this case, it would be fitted as an ABC, and it looks really nice as an ABC. So your only motive pattern going into the first impulse, or the motive wave for a wave one, is going to be a leading diagonal or a simple 5-way move to the upside, which we don't have. Alternatively, we can have a 5-way move going up and say that this is the primary wave one. However, since it is still moving correctively, this idea has to be monitored no matter what. And in this case, since it looked more corrective, this idea fitted better. So with that being said, we had that first subwave, and since it was moving corrective, we were looking for this subwave 2. This subwave 2 fitted very nicely, and although it was still low probability at that time of recording, that bounce off the lows, we were starting to assume that this subwave 3 was coming into play, and we got that subwave 3, and it was definitely corrective to the upside. So we're now looking for a subwave 4 and 5 to come suit, respectively, to finish off this primary wave 1 before we get a larger wave 2 pullback. So if you look at it right now, we are now starting to get that pullback right now. It is going to be going into the territory of wave 1 at this point, because it already did breach into the territory of wave 1. So that does deem it already as valid if we are going to be doing another move to the upside. But again, doesn't have the best look for a contracting nature. We want to be kind of creating a wide and kind of creating a smaller apex as it starts to go into the territory of this wave 1. So this wave 4, we're going to be looking for some kind of transitional wave on the micro time frames. Look for ABC or WXY kind of pattern. Again, all of these moves here within the diagonal have to be fitted within a zigzag family as an ABC or a complex WXY. So far, 2 of them have a WXY. Could be really another WXY if it really wanted to. But then again, doesn't really matter, as the tendency to go back into the wave 1 is just a possibility. This wave 4, we're going to be expecting some kind of bounce and support. Look for another 3-way move to the upside. And what's important here, and what fits into this bias, is also that we have a trend line here that's acting as tough resistance, right? It's been acting as tough resistance for quite some time. So that's where I would expect actually that wave 1 to be completed around the 68.5K region, or just around that region, where we're going to be completing this diagonal entirely, and then we'll get that wave 1-2 pullback, and that is where a lot of people will start to turn bearish once again. But if you're able to separate this whole idea as different regions of different hierarchy of degrees, you can see quite easily that we're just working in an accumulation, and we're ready to go to the upside, eventually breaking this region. The more times you retest a trend line, the higher the chance that it's going to be coming up. And the more times you break this trend line and it comes back up, the stronger the support is. So I would expect this trend line to eventually break if we do eventually get that wave 1-2 pullback, get a lot of people coming back into the markets here as we find support within these regions, especially if it has a controlled manner of a ABC or some kind of 3-wave move type pattern. Could really just even do a sideways move and we don't even come down into these regions over here. But again, wave 2 is just characteristically just tendency is to move a little bit deeper, and this is why we're expecting a little bit of a deeper wave 2 pullback of the primary degree, and then we're off to the races, and we're going to be looking for that primary 3 to the upside, eventually completing the 5-wave move to the upside to complete that 5th wave of the macro degree around the $100,000 to the $120,000 regions, which is still my current narrative that I'm building upon. So that's the diagonal idea. I think this still has the highest merit for this current time of recording, since we've been talking about it for quite some time. The second idea that is enticing for me as well is that we may have already completed this wave 1 and we're still working in a wave 2 because everything is still working correctly. So this idea is definitely on my radar, which is around this level here of the 52 to the 55K region of where a next possible support may be, if in the case we do break that diagonal trend line, or we start to lose the tendency for a diagonal characteristic. So if that's the case, we're going to be looking for a 335 Elliott wave sequence, which is known as the flat idea. Now, since we did create a new price extreme for this wave B, this wave B is going to be considered the expanded B pocket zone, which means that if we have a new price extreme, we're going to be looking for a new price extreme for this wave C. So it would be essentially a fake out here and then a fake out here, where this will eventually create that 335 sequence for that flat, which is known as the expanded flat. Then we're off to the races. Now, expanded flats, I love these patterns within Bitcoin because they're more common than normal flats and running flats. But in the case we do create a running flat, again, if we use the trend-based Fibonacci extension using our pivots, using the pivot of here, wave 1, pivot of wave A and pivot of wave B, we can measure our targets where the normal Fibonacci retracements can't do. This gives us that first target of that 100% zone right here, which will be above the previous zone here. So if we create a new price extreme, the narrow down idea could be a possible running flat, and then we can be out of here. But running flats, since they are very rare, like I've said, we're looking for an expanded flat, which creates another price extreme below this wave A, and that'll bring us into that 161.8 zone, which is the next or highest common target actually for a wave C within an expanded flat. And then that also very coincidentally meets us right into that 618 Fibonacci if this is the assumed top, and we take it from this bottom to this top. The measured length for that for Fibonacci support is going to be the 61.8 zone, which meets right into the trend-based extension target as well for the 161.8. So very interesting target zone if in the case we do come back into these regions here. I wouldn't be bearish at that point. I would say that if we do create a 5-wave move to the downside and we start to find divergences or losing some kind of volume, and we find momentum indicators giving us a divergence, a bullish divergence in this case, is that we're going to be looking for another move to the upside, and that will be a completed 335 sequence of the Elliott wave pattern known as the expanded flat, where we're working at 335. And the 335, again, kind of overlaps with that diagonal idea because we created a 3 here, we created the same idea of a 3 here, and we're now looking for a 5-wave. So the only thing that you have to look forward to is if we're going to be moving impulsively to the downside. If that's the case, then this idea starts to become a little bit more relevant. And then if we start to correctively move and we find support, then all you have to do is work within the diagonal idea. So there's really no mitigation in terms of the risk. All you have to do is find the possible corrective pattern or find the possible continuation of an impulse to the downside. And those are the only two ways that we're going to be able to identify which is going to be the diagonal or this flat idea in itself. And these two ideas looks very nice on the macro. Either way, we have a protected low. And the most important thing is if we pull up the diagonal idea, these wave 2s are pretty much in the same area of support anyways. So we're going to be looking for a wave 2 pullback anyways for a diagonal. We're going to be looking for just a quicker swift movement of that wave C within a larger wave 2 as a flat, and that'll still bring us into the areas of interest no matter what, which means that pretty much we're in a hybrid zone looking for higher upside, more potential that we may be working for a larger wave 3 to the upside. So if that's the case, these are the levels that we're going to be looking for. Both scenarios lead us eventually to the upside. Now, what if we don't even just come down? What if we don't even create the diagonal? What if we just straight up move out of these regions and the markets don't even give a crap about what's happening right now? Well, that is a possible idea where we have the 1-2 completely terminated here and we have the wave 2 done here entirely. That is a possibility, but it is a little bit low and a bit too ambitious in my opinion. So we have to be a little bit neutral in terms of that stance, meaning that, we can't find a clear 5-way move to the upside for this here to create the smaller degree 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the upside. We just don't have enough data for that. And until we do, we could be forcing a lot of ways in terms of how we can see this as a completed wave 1, 2 to the upside, and then 3, 4, 5 to follow suit. But right now, this move does still look corrective to me. So it means that we have to be working in a corrective pattern. And the only corrective patterns that I can see is within that diagonal or that possible flat if we do move to the downside even further. So that is how we're going to be seeing the transitional waves and also the resolution for all of these, especially with this trend line being intact. That idea is all fitting towards this diagonal idea and also fitting towards how this possible flat could be playing out, where we're looking for a 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5 to the upside to follow suit. Again, all leading us into the area of interest no matter what. We have a protected low. The Fibonacci levels are still intact. They haven't been met right now yet, but again, they are going to be met with some kind of price reaction regardless, unless we do some kind of dump like this. And at that point, I wouldn't even see a wave 4 coming into play here, where a lot of people are seeing this as an ABC. That might be a connector wave for a wave 4 and a wave Y that's pending to be complete, and we move to the upside. I don't think that will be the case. And if that's the case, again, I'm more looking at the bearish option, where we're seeing that leading expanding diagonal being complete. This would be the wave 1, this would be the wave 2, and we'd be working for far deeper levels for a wave 3 to the downside if that is the case and we do break these lows one more time. So I don't agree with the bulls in that sense as well. So I am on the side with the bears if we do break this low one more time. At that point, I would say we would be working for much lower levels. So hopefully that was helpful, ladies and gentlemen. The micro time frames are going to be updated in my Discord membership this time. There's really not much to talk about. All you're looking for is this 3-wave corrective pattern or a impulse move to the downside, and I'll be discussing those in my Discord membership group as well. If you're also interested in joining the Patreon, the link is in the description below. Discord membership is also in the link in the description below. Please don't hesitate to contact me to inquire about it. Also, please do follow me on social media at XForceGlobal. I do a lot of my daily updates there as well. We have quite a bit of engagement there as well. If you want to, post some comments about what you're possibly seeing, please don't hesitate to even write down in the comments. So thank you very much. Please comment down below on which scenario that you are seeing. Are you seeing the diagonal? Are you seeing the flat idea play out? We'll see. But both ideas are still eventually leading us to the higher upside. So we'll see. Thank you very much. I'll have more updates. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And also, please make sure to like the video if you haven't already as well. Again, this is our 3rd update in a row for Bitcoin. I'll continue to do more of these Bitcoin updates if in the case we do get a lot of interest. So thank you very much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.